Welcome to The Explainer. We're all about breaking down big, complex ideas into something you can really sink your teeth into. And today, we are tackling a word we throw around all the time, the market. But what does it really mean in an economic sense? Let's find out.
So let's just jump right in with a question. Think about this. Why is it that you can go to a farmer's market and haggle over the price of vegetables, but when your phone bill shows up, well, that price feels set in stone, right? It's not like you can negotiate with your carrier. The answer to both of those situations, it's all about understanding what kind of market you're in.
And to get to that answer, we've got to start with the basics. We need to nail down what a market actually is. And I'm willing to bet it's a bit broader than what you might be thinking. Yeah, when you hear the word market, your brain probably jumps to a physical place, right? Like the grocery store, or maybe you picture the chaos of a stock exchange floor. But in economics, the idea is so much bigger. It's not about the place, it's about the system. Any system, really, that connects buyers and sellers. It could be that town square, sure, but it could also be a classified ad in a newspaper or, the entire global internet. So this is the key takeaway here. A market isn't a location, it's an interaction. It's this whole collection of buyers and sellers, and it's their dance, their potential to trade, that ultimately decides the price of pretty much everything. And, for any of these systems to really be called a market, there are 5 essential ingredients. You've got to have buyers and sellers, obviously. You need a product or a service being traded. There has to be some form of bargaining to land on a price. Both sides need at least some knowledge about what's going on. And at the end of the day, all that interaction leads to one price for that thing at that specific time. Okay, so now that we're all on the same page about what a market is, this is where it gets really fun. Because economists, they love to categorize things. And they've come up with a bunch of different ways to slice and dice markets to figure out how they tick. Probably the easiest one to grasp is geography. You've got your local markets for things that go bad quickly, right? Like fresh vegetables or flowers. Then you can zoom out to a regional market, maybe for something specific to a few cities or states, like a certain style of traditional clothing. Zoom out again and you've got a national market. Think about all the Hindi books sold within India's borders. And then you've got the big one, the international market, for things like gold and silver that are traded all across the globe. Another cool way to look at it is through time. In what economists call a very short period market, the supply is totally fixed. Imagine the fresh catch of fish that comes in today. That's all there is. You can't just magically produce more. But in the long period, things are way more flexible. Given enough time, suppliers can build new factories or farmers can plant more crops, totally adjusting the supply. And believe me, the list keeps going. We can sort them by transaction type. Is the deal happening right now, on the spot, or is it a contract for something in the future? We can sort them by regulation, the difference between the super-regulated stock exchange and a totally unregulated weekend flea market. And of course, there's volume. Are we talking wholesale, massive business-to-business deals, or the retail shopping that you and I do? But, and this is the big but, while all of those classifications are super useful, they all kind of orbit around one single massive idea, the one factor that really dictates how a market behaves more than anything else, and that is the level of competition. So, this idea of competition, it's the main event. It leads us directly to the 4 big types of market structures. And if you can get your head around these 4, you'll have the answer to our original question about why your vegetables are cheap and your phone bill is not. All right, first up, we have what economists call perfect competition. This is basically that farmer's market we were talking about. You've got a ton of sellers, and they're all selling products that are pretty much identical. I mean, one farmer's zucchini is just like the next farmer's zucchini, right? And because of that, no single farmer gets to decide the price. They just have to accept whatever the market price is. They're what we call price takers. Okay, number 2 is monopolistic competition. This one's a little different. You still have a lot of sellers, but now they're all trying really hard to make their product seem unique. The absolute best example? Just walk down the shampoo aisle at a Star. They all clean hair, but they compete like crazy on branding, special ingredients, fancy bottles, anything to get a little bit of an edge and some control over their own price. And here it is. This is your phone bill. We're talking about an oligopoly. This is a market where just a few huge companies call all the shots. Think about it. Mobile carriers, major airlines, car companies. There are only a handful of them. And because of that, whatever one company does, like changing its prices, it has a massive ripple effect on the others. They have a ton of control over what you pay. And last, the big one, monopoly. One single seller, that's it.
They control the entire market for something, and there's no other good option. Think about your local public utility, maybe. A classic national example is Indian Railways, which, in its domain, is pretty much the only game in town. They don't take the price, they make the price. This table just lays it all out so perfectly. Just look at the pattern. As you go from left to right, from perfect competition over to monopoly, watch what happens. The number of sellers just drops off a cliff. And what happens to their control over the price? It goes through the roof. It's a direct relationship. So, why do we care about all this? What's the big deal? Well, it's because these market structures, they set the rules of the game. The level of competition dictates literally everything about how a business has to act if it wants to survive and, make a profit. It doesn't matter if you're a tiny farm stand or a massive global corporation. And no matter what market you're in, there are two fundamental rules that every business lives by. First, there's the shutdown rule. It's super simple. If the money you make from selling one widget doesn't even cover the basic cost of the materials and labor to make that widget, you're bleeding cash with every sale. You should just shut down. The second is the profit rule. This is all about finding that sweet spot. You should keep making and selling more stuff as long as the revenue you get from that next item is more than what it cost you to make it. The second they become equal, that's your stopping point. That's max profit. So, now you have the toolkit. Look around. Think about the things you interact with every single day. The social media you scroll through, the gas station you fill up at, the coffee shop you go to, the software on your computer. What kind of market is each one? And once you start seeing these structures everywhere, you can ask the really big question. Who's holding all the cards here? And who does this system really work for?